have you back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our major stories. The acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, returns to the country from Italy, assures G7 nations of Africa's increasing collaborations in strengthening democracy and fighting terror. Confusion in Lagos All Progressive Congress as leadership remains undecided on the outcome of the party's primaries. More states showcase achievement in 2 years of being in the saddle. Rivers and Enugu states say it's been a good journey so far. And British Airways flight still grounded at Heathrow Airport. For more on our top stories and others, please visit our website. It's channelstv.com and youtube.com/channelsweb. Log on to m.channelstv.com to watch us live on your mobile device and download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. The Channels TV and Channels 24 app will give you access to news and updates. You also have access to the Eyewitness feature with which you can share those pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. And talking about pictures, we have some of your Eyewitness pictures which you sent into our portal. We begin with this one from Ijesha Tedo in Lagos, which our Eyewitness reporter says has been in this condition for about 5 years and is calling on the authorities to fix this bad road. And staying in Lagos, our Eyewitness reporter is crying out over this image of a flooded Bankole street in Ilasamaja, calling on the state government to come to their rescue as the rainy season approaches. And finally is this one from Kwara State in Pachiji, where the image is showing an eroded road, which our Eyewitness reporter says is a nightmare for motorists, especially at night. Thank you so much for those pictures, and we do encourage you to keep them coming. As activities to mark the 50th anniversary of Lagos comes to an end, a special service, a Thanksgiving service, has been held at the Governor's office in Alausa. The service, attended by the Governor, Akinwumi Ambode, and his family members, attracted guests from all walks of life. Our correspondent, Chris Elems, reports that Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo of KICC delivered the message of the day tagged "Pressing On to Greater Heights."
It's a special Thanksgiving service in commemoration of Lagos at 50 and the second anniversary of the present administration. Allegations have turned out to offer their praise to the Almighty. Songs of thanksgiving fill the air as the jubilant guests appreciate God for the journey so far. For the successes recorded in Lagos and the future, prayers were said, led by the leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Lagos chapter.
Because God has given him the spirit of understanding and knowledge, which comes with a lot of wisdom. Let's thank the Lord. Let's ask God to give him more.
The message of the day by Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo is tagged "Pressing On to a Greater Height" with text taken from Philippians 3 verse 14.
Lose sight of the present in order to gain a greater future. You cannot reach the next harbor if you don't take your eyes off the present shore. You cannot reach what's in front of you until you let go of what's behind you. You cannot focus on the future if you don't forget the past.
Governor Akinwumi Ambode also takes to the podium, acknowledging God for the state.
Our faith in His unchanging promise is also the reason for our hope and belief that our expectation and dream of a greater and more prosperous Lagos will become a reality in the precious name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
More songs of praise and worship are rendered as Lagos journeys through to the next 50 years. And for these Lagosians, the projection is positive.
Today, Lagos is 50+1, and I want to say that Lagosians should start looking forward to greater things to happen.
This time around, there is what you can call a continuum, where there are structures that have been put down, and people actually continue to work on it, improving those services every day.
And the governor appears to toll that same line of thought.
What could be our wish to see that the next 50 years, Lagos becomes that smart city that any one of us will be very proud of globally.
As the state begins another phase towards the next 50 years, it will no doubt require men of vision and strong commitment to birth the new dream. Hopefully these are waiting in the wings. Chris Elamps, Channels Television News.
President Muhammadu Buhari and Acting President Professor Yemi Osinbajo are now 50% into their constitutional journey, one that is expected to lead all Nigerians, young and old, to a destination called prosperity. Has the first half performance of the president met the expectations of most Nigerians, and will the second half exceed expectations? Joining us tonight on the news at 10 to review the 2-year performance of the government is Mr. Babajide Ogusonwo, Channels Television's Data and Information Analyst. You're welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening. Now, 2 years into this promise of change, what promises have been kept and what's left to be done?
I would rather take it from a slightly different perspective. So listen carefully to what I'm about to say. I am a slow walker, but I never walk back. Now that's Abraham Lincoln. A century and a half after Lincoln's assassination, will Nigerians allow President Buhari to be a slow walker? Perhaps not. Remember, Superman candidate Buhari came in with heavy promises. He had made heavy promises that perhaps so heavy for Superman to carry. And so today we need to look at how heavy are those promises and what lies ahead. And there's several ways we could look at this. Remember, and let me make myself clear, on the 26th of December 2014, just like Donald Trump, candidate Buhari had tweeted. He had tweeted about 4 things that he wants to be judged on. 4 things that he said were most important to him. Now, what were these 4 things? The first, jobs. He had talked about power. He had also talked about economy in that tweet, and he had mentioned security. So let's quickly talk about these first 3 things. Jobs. The promise was 3 million jobs per annum. The evidence from the NBS shows in the first 12 months, 3 million jobs were not created, only 1.2 million jobs. The evidence also shows that all of last year we created less than 1 million jobs. Here's what it means. Based on the president's own standard, the benchmark he has set for himself, and depending on how strict of a teacher you are, you will either score that 4 or 3 over 10. That's a P8 or an F9. But should we expect the president's performance to improve? Yes, we should. Even though we are not yet out of the woods, today's evidence shows that the rate of decline of the economy is reducing. And so regarding jobs in the days ahead, it looks brighter than the days behind us. And that's just for jobs. On power, we do remember 29th May 2015, total power generated was only 2,700 megawatts. 60 days ago, the new evidence shows power generation that was sent out 3,900 megawatts. Is that an improvement? Yes, it is. An improvement of 45%. So that's good news on power. But again, there's bad news on power, because even based on the president's own standard, the plan for 2019 was 10,000 megawatts. And so we're halfway into this journey, yet we are not yet halfway into what power offers us. And finally, let's look at the economy. Can we have a discussion on the economy without again talking about food? No, we can't, because the evidence clearly shows that more than half of what we spend goes on food. So consider this very carefully. In the first 2 years of President Obasanjo, food inflation was 14%. In the first 2 years of President Yar'Adua, food inflation was 33%. However, in the first 2 years of President Jonathan, food inflation was 23%. Food inflation in this first 2 years, 35%. That's the highest within the 4 presidents we've had in the Fourth Republic.
Now, Mr. Ogunsonwo, besides food inflation, when we look at this present administration and the other ones that have come, any similarities or differences?
There are quite a lot of similarities and differences as well. But let's quickly look at what had happened and what the headlines were 2 years into President Obasanjo's tenure. The headlines, 3 major things stand out. FG recovers 100 billion naira stolen money. News similar to today, a Senate of crisis, and we have McAfee's tenure of troubles. These headlines were 2 years, 2001, into the anniversary of President Obasanjo. Let's quickly flip into what were the headlines 2 years into President Yar'Adua. That was 2009. And we can clearly see 3 major things stand out. We've seen on the top right, budget. Still issues around the budget. We've seen issues on militancy, which you can see in the center. And at the bottom left, we've seen the extradition of El-Rufai still on course, EFCC. These are still 3 subjects that we still face. What were the headlines 2 years into President Jonathan's tenure? Again, similar to what we have today. We have issues of pension fund management on the top left. You can see Boko Haram concerns, and look at that picture you have, issues of infrastructure decay. The summary is, what has been going on in the last 18 years can be summarized under 3 subjects. The first is severe crime. The second is remarkable irresponsibility. What is the third? The third is something you wouldn't just unbelieve. We could summarize the third as consistent challenges. Consistent challenges. But beyond all these problems, what is the solution? And the solution was put on our table a century and a half ago.
And that solution is what a lot of Nigerians are expecting right now going forward, Mr. Ogunsonwo, because they want, the man on the street wants a better life. So what do you think this government can do to turn the fortunes around? Quick
solution, what James Freeman Clark had suggested. December 1870, he had said, a politician only thinks about the next election, but a statesman thinks about the next generation. And so we need to ask ourselves, how many statesmen do we have? So the solution lies in not we growing politicians. It lies in we having people that are concerned about the next generation.
Many thanks for joining us on the News at 10. Mr. Babajide Ogunsonwo is Channel Television's data and information analyst.
Thank you.
The Buhari government is not intolerant. Those are not my words, but that is a reaction of the presidential spokesperson, Mr. Femi Adesina, while answering questions about the handling of some major issues like the El Zakzaki, Nnamdi Kanu and Sambo Dasuki detention cases by the present administration. Mr. Adesina, who was a guest on our political program Sunday Politics, says the government has acted in the interest of every Nigerian and done its due diligence. He also revealed that President Muhammadu Buhari is recuperating while in London, where he's receiving medical attention.
This government in the past 2 years has not manifested any form of intolerance in any way, well, to the best of my own knowledge. The IPOB, we know how far it has gone. At least Nnamdi Kanu is on bail now. Despite the fact was the case against him was treason. Well, since courts admitted him to bail, now he's being allowed to go on bail. The others, the Attorney General, the Chief Law Officer of the country, has explained that there are still some legal issues to sort out. And when those issues are sorted out, I'm sure that the needful will also be done.
And when the News at 10 returns, Nigeria police and the United States security operatives exchanged notes on the war against terror and resettlements of IDPs in the northeast. That's in a moment. Join us again.